Good morning, everybody. Retail sales were a little bit better than expected. Turns into a real non-event for the market. Basically came right back down to that 43.80. Just very little to say about that or do about that. Not much to do there at all, candidly. So yeah, we could talk about it real quick, but very, very little for me to say about it or for us to really pay attention to. But let's get into it a little bit here. So, I mean, you're going to mark off that bar as we always do. And I really don't expect a whole heck of a lot out of that to be candid. You know, they weren't crazy numbers, guys. They weren't something that we really have to, pay that much attention to. You know, I would expect more of a move off of it if it was going to be something, and you couldn't even break 43.80. So, I mean, that already tells you exactly what we're dealing with, right? So that's definitely something for us to, kind of wrap our heads around. And they're trying to take tech down with it. And I'm just not really buying what they're selling today. I think they're going to bounce all around. I think we should have cracked last night, candidly, on the terror attack, but we didn't. So what I'll do real quick here, just so people can see this, I'll just drop this whole thing in. I find the best site for me to show you all this economic data are free sites. I think that is the best way to do it. And the way that I will show that is just, we'll go here and just do it that way. Here, let me just show you this, and then we'll go from there. Hold on one second. I'm going to have to get rid of that and do it again. And go from there, and then there. Perfect. All right, let me just let this load in, and then we'll drop it right here now. Perfect. Let me just show this. So there are your numbers right there. Core retail sales 0.6, retail 0.6, 0.1. I mean, they're higher. Do we want a weak consumer or do we not want a weak consumer? I mean, every day is like Groundhog Day with these guys. So it is what it is. All right. And there's nothing that we can do about it. And it's just take it or leave it. And for me, I don't see a darn reason to do a whole heck of a lot here on that data. So just keep that in mind. You do what you want with it, but to me, it's a non-event. I think what they're really doing here more than anything is I think they're just bleeding us out. So, I was listening to somebody today, a friend of mine that's really he's a pretty proficient day trader, option trader, and he's been doing it for a couple decades. We were just talking about the market. And one of the things like he'll do is he'll try and scalp, right? And he's a big scalper. And I was just looking at this the other day, like, what are you scalping right now? Like, if you really look at this, like if you look at yesterday, like, what are you scalping? That's really what I was trying to get to him. And his point was really where mine is it's just slim pickings more than anything. Now, I do want to be Captain Obvious here for a second and just show you this on a 1 minute. If we take a look at this and just drop straight down, well, you are dropping, right? Okay, but that's not a bad thing. Now, if I clone this for a second and I just drop it, because you always want to clone them because you're looking for the same trajectory, right? What you're seeing is you're seeing a channel. So I think that we're seeing this channel develop, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I think this channel is going to take us possibly down to these levels, that 43.80 level, right? That's really where the breakout of the channel was. And I think if we think about being kind of wedged in here, well, what happens when we break out of this channel so far? Well, we popped right back in. Well, what happened when we popped out of it? Well, everyone got giddy and went long. How'd that go? So I think the channel is the trade. And what I would suggest that you do today, if you're trading ES or looking at the market, I would suggest that you watch this channel today. It seems that we're in this, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because for the past 2 days, you're going to drop and you're going to decrease equity. I don't know what the answer is for that, but this is where I would start. Now, if you break that channel for those that are trading this or for those that want to trade options, you're at 43.73. And you break that, you're starting to get to this 43.50 level. Let's just put them all in for a second so we can just kind of see, right? You're at that 56. I mean, some people say, well, you probably gap fill. Okay, so you gap fill. All right. So if you look at it from that perspective, that's something else that we should be focused on, right? All right. So we have all these different ranges in here. Now, leave those ranges in for a second. Now watch this. Come back out with these ranges that we just put in, right? And then what I do is go and pop those in. All right, so now I pop in the 22, which we just flipped back over, and I use that as a level 2. Now I go back to my 1. All right, and let's reset this. All right, look at all my levels in here. You want to short that? Like, you have so many different levels that could hold here. It's crazy. So I know I'm going to do it on the NASDAQ too. So like when I started going through this and looking at it last night, I mean, you're not going to get down there, but look what happened when you did. Look how you held. All right. So let's just keep going through this. And I would just argue that if a war is not going to knock us off, right? The war is not going to drop us, right? So the war, we don't have to worry about the war. Okay. That's not going to drop us for some godforsaken reason. That's not dropping us. 480 on the 10-year. That's not dropping us. So what is going to drop us? Well, what is that thing that's going to drop the market? Because I just don't see it. I see every day us coming in, and then we're seeing, Nvidia's down, $8. So that's clearly going to break today, right? Or is it just going to go back to flat today again? Okay. So these are the things that I'm seeing out there that I don't have the answer for right now. The only thing that I can tell you in looking at this is I have a real tough time looking at this and just saying, okay, let's just start throwing in the towel. Are you going to get negative news on semis? Yeah, it's going to come left and right. Are you going to get negative news on tech? Yeah, it's coming left and right. Apple, iPhone sales are down what? 4.5% from last year's release. I mean, to their knowledge, and that's in China, but let's be realistic about it. What did they do? Change the screen or put a new function on it? Like, it's ridiculous. So, people are kind of over the gimmicks. So that didn't drop. And you start kind of going through this, like, well, what's the issue? What's the real issue here? And I'm not so sure that you're not going to see some kind of, retest or bounce. And, you watch the market break out, right? We all know that 5.25 is realistic. I mean, if we look at this here, I talked about this in a video a while ago, but I mean, that's where you're heading, right? You're going to flip, you're going to get to 5.25. That's not unrealistic on this. I don't want to spend a lot of time. I want to stay pre-market, but I'm going to get into this on Saturday. I think people need to kind of wake up as to what's going on. Like, you're never getting that mortgage rate again. I'm sorry for those that missed it, but you will never see this time in history again, ever. It's just never going to happen. There's nothing even remotely close to that. So if you're holding out for a 3% mortgage, don't. But if you look at how this is going, where do you think the average price is here of a bond? I don't think it'll even let me do average price. No, it won't, because I don't have volume. So if you just kind of look at it from that perspective, I could just drop a line from here, but I'll do it later. If you look at this, where do you think rates are going? Well, they're just going to go higher. All right, so then the premium to the market is the issue. And if that's the issue, then the only names that are going to make sense to buy are going to be tech, and they're going to be all over the place. I get it. I'm going to be up 10, down 10, and it's going to be the game, right? That's the game right now. And you're going to have to deal with it. I actually went home long AVGO, and I'm going to have to deal with it this morning. Whatever happens, happens. But you start going through these names, you start looking at them and going, okay, well, the only ones that are coming out and beating earnings are tech, that are absolutely crushing earnings, are tech. So what are you going to buy? You're going to have to, if you want growth, you're going to have to buy tech. You might not want to pay up. You might be like, well, this is a ridiculous number. I'm not paying that amount, right? And you can see how tech's getting smoked right now, how this is just dropping. Let's just go through it, point it out. And you can see how that's dropping, right? We're falling off a cliff. No one's ever going to buy a chip again, right? So as that continues, you're going to get opportunity to buy these things, and it's going to work or it's not going to work. And it's up to us to make those decisions. Now, and there's always going to be news, guys. There's always going to be some new thing out there that's going to be a reason. And that is the type of thing that's going to just continue and continue and continue. And there's not much that you're going to be able to do about it right now. You're going to have to trade what's happening. You're going to have to trade what's in front of you. And it is what it is. And so then you kind of have to go up there and just kind of figure it out. I mean, every time you turn around, there's a chip ban, there's this, there's that, and that's it. And so now it's the U.S. is restricting, this is today's news, the U.S. is restricting the sale of chips designed specifically for the Chinese market. They can't come out with those chips anymore. So, okay, here we go again. what is that going to do? Nothing. To me, it's probably going to present a buying opportunity. I mean, just to be blunt, like this is just absolutely, one of those things where maybe it's not that name. Maybe I'll add to AVGO or find a spot in AVGO to add. I'm going to have to see how this goes this morning. But, do I want to put myself in a position where I'm like, oh, they're just going to ban all these chips? Like it's not going to work, guys. I mean, we already know this. We already know how this game's played. So something to think about. But let's get back to the market in and of itself and go from there. So then you start looking at the market and saying, all right, let's say we break the 43.80 level, which it looks like you're going to try and do this morning. Where do you go to? 73, 68, 50? Where are we going here? So I think that's a really important distinction. Like, where does the market go? Where does this end? And where does this bounce end? And we don't really have an issue to that yet. We don't really have a solution to that yet. So I would sit there, watch and wait and see how we open. As far as the Qs, and let me do the NQ that way. I think it's a better way of doing it. And going from there, give me a second here. I might actually do something here. Yeah, they can go scratch. Give me another leg down here. Mm-hmm. Give me a second, guys. Let's see what this thing's going to do here. It's not ready yet. You're going to crack. All right, let's keep our eye on it. Give me a second here. Okay. Sorry. Seems like it's just an absolutely insane move to me so far. Really does. Just seems absolutely insane. We're going to take 4% off. Let's see how ugly it gets. Well, it looks like it's going to go lower, doesn't it? All right. I'll come back to it. Let me save this and go from there. Let's see here. I don't know how long this is going to stay down here. I really don't. Let's take a look at something else. At least this made the morning interesting, didn't it? That might be the move. That might be the move. That might be the easier move. I mean, what are you doing? You're going to go down 10% on this? Seems excessive, doesn't it? That's the move. Sorry, guys. All right, let's get into it here. Well, there you go. There's your first bar. All right. All right. Let's see what happens here. Well, at least they didn't make it boring this morning. All right, let's get to it. So again, let's go to these levels. And this is something that I'd be watching today, right in here, where you see you can see this DTL. You can see how we're holding all these levels. Maybe we break 55 on this NVIDIA news. I don't know. It seems kind of silly to me. Not going to lie. It seems kind of ridiculous, but it is what it is. Overall, when you start looking at this kind of stuff, you just want to see how we act, and then we'll kind of go from there. But I think you're going to hold in there. Now, if you start breaking this, you can see 14.6. You're not going to see that today. You have plenty of room in here to hold. So I would really keep that in mind as to this particular level. And you're right back to 43.80 and battling it. So if we go and take a look at that, let's flip to that real quick. Semis are going to be the talk of the town now with this moron move. But you can see how 43.80 is flipping here. See it? Let's get rid of these for a second. Let's go back to the 1 minute so that I can add some kind of value to this pre-market. But you can see right in here, and you see how you're flipping and how you're undercutting, and then you're going to go from there. So you're already having a hard time there holding 43.80. So that's definitely something that you're going to want to watch. You're going to want to pay attention to and see how it plays out. But that's really where, where my head is right now. And that's how I would view everything. So I don't personally think there's anything to do there. I really don't. I think you get involved and it is what it is. And that's pretty much it. So I personally like the idea that we're going to rally through this. Whether or not we do remains to be seen. Let's get some of these other names while I'm thinking about it, because there is more to the market than NVIDIA. So you're going to see Lulu come in. I'm not really sure why. I'd watch this again. We had a real nice trade in this yesterday. I like the idea that this is pulling back and setting up again. I'd watch that. Tesla, you have earnings tomorrow. I think that the most important thing for me, the most glaring thing for me, was just the fact that you saw us hold that 55. I think that was pretty important that we did that. And that's something that I'd be paying attention to and go from there. And that's really where that's really where my head is right now. And that's really what I'd be focused on. So, that's really what I would be paying attention to. More than anything, I'll be paying attention to that. I think that that's a really, really very interesting spot for Tesla going into tomorrow. I mean, I want you to think about this. If you're short here, and I'll leave you like this, 1, 2, 3 down, right? Then you flip right here, you hold the 55 and then you push. Like, who in their right mind is staying short that? I mean, you're not staying short that. And I think that's a huge, huge discrepancy there, right? So that's kind of how I would look at that personally. I would not put myself in that position where, I certainly would not be putting myself in that position where I'd be short that going out there. Look at this one too. Like, you're seeing this a little bit where the people that are short these names that are going into earnings tomorrow are a little bit like, do I really want to stay short now? And I'm wondering if that's the play. So you might want to look at those names as well too. I would expect names like SMCI and these to be extremely, extremely volatile today. And extremely volatile today. And I think they're going to present the most opportunity, candidly, but we'll see. I think it depends on how much risk these names are going to take and how much risk people are going to take with these names. Being able to buy NVIDIA down 20 points, to me, kind of seems like a no-brainer, but who am I? What do I know? But I mean, you could literally buy it and then just marry a put to it and leave it alone for a week. And you think you're going to stay down $20 from here? Maybe. I don't know. We'll have to see how that plays out, but that's kind of like where my head is. This BNTX news was really interesting as well. And we could see what happened there with the lowering guidance of Visor. And I guess everyone just thought, like, geez, Visor's guidance wasn't that bad. And then it just, it ripped and it went higher. So I thought that was kind of interesting as well. And, we'll see how that plays out, and we'll go from there. But that's where my head is right now. That's what I see as, the bigger plays, out there. I like the Visor move. I don't really understand why it ripped. Maybe they thought like it was going to be way worse than that, and that's as bad as it was. And we'll see. We'll see how that plays. But what else do we really have that's of major, major interest here that I think's of major interest? That's really all I have that I think is really worth mentioning. I would watch the Netflix today. I think that I do think that the NVIDIA and these names are way overdone. I'm usually early with this kind of stuff, so we'll have to see how that plays out. But this TPST was a lot of fun yesterday. We'll see how that goes, and we'll go from there. I really like the way this is setting up, though. I also like how the market's going to heck in a handbasket right now, and everybody's panicking right over what's happening. And Tesla could care less. It could absolutely care less. Look at it. I mean, you're not even down $2, which means that maybe that's the play today. Maybe the play is to, if you don't want to take the risk of like a NVIDIA or the semis right now, you start looking at this, that might be the move. Microsoft down might be the move. Google down might be the move. That might be the play today. So I think there's something to that, and kind of go from there. But that's kind of where my head is right now. But we'll see how this goes. I mean, if NVIDIA breaks that low here, let me just show you this. If you break this low and you take that out, you're going to get a whole other wave of sellers right there if it breaks that. Because you're going to have a bunch of people. Now, they might be taking it down there just to flush people out, right? I mean, that's always the rub. They could always be doing that. And that might be what they're doing right now. So, just be aware. But maybe the move is to go and start looking at some of the other names that have nothing to do with this. That's not really my style. I'd rather play this and see how it goes. But I'm really very interested in how ugly this gets, because I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for those that have the ability to step in front of this and buy some of these names. I do believe that, but we'll have to see how it plays. I would watch Apple again today. I'm going to just show this. I think this is very important. I'm going to be able to take some questions, not a lot, because I'm going to start trading in about 5 minutes here. But see how you're going to flip right in these levels right here? Like, the fact that you got back here is pretty impressive. So I'm going to take some questions, and I'm going to have to start trading here, guys. Start getting pretty involved, candidly. So let me get to this and see what there. Why are you not using volume? What do I need volume for? You don't know it's moving? Seriously, what do I need volume for? Like, what, I mean, it's moving. It's aggressive. Let's go through this and see what we have here. IIPR is a name I like a lot, but I don't know that now's the time. And I think we have to watch that. I don't know that now's the time to start buying these REITs until we see where the bond market's going. I think the problem that I had before they come out and did this silly move this morning, the problem I had, Decimate, was that ASML's tonight. So you have to figure that part of it out. So we just don't know yet. What's going on, Steve? Good morning, Maxim. I think it is. I think you are. You just have to watch 4380 today, and you got to get over it. If you're not going to get over it, you're going to start breaking these levels. Just stay out of the way. There's nothing wrong with that, guys. There's nothing wrong with staying out of the way right now, right? This is not your grandmom's stock market. There's a lot of moving parts to the lot. So what's up, Chuck? What's up, Rock? Hey, Kay. Hey, Carlos. AEHR. Yeah, that's a tough one to go near right now, guys. You have all those breaks there. Retail sales were actually down month over month. To hire, with my volume of trading, you must have wash sales. To have a really good accountant. That's my advice. I think we should look at VRNS. Please don't be a penny stock. Please don't be a penny stock. No, we're not a penny stock. Maybe. Yeah, I mean, I like the volume. Do you really want to be that guy that's buying it before earnings? I don't know. It's a nice looking chart, though. I'll give you that. It's a really nice looking chart. I'd like to know why it moved and did that. I might look at that today. I'd be real interested why that moved. I don't think it's going to be a chop fest today, dude. Not with that news that hit. We're going to be really active. What's up, Carl? TNP, Snap. Let's take a Snap. Really? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, look, I'll tell you this. I don't know why we're moving ahead of the quarter like that. I do not want to own this going into earnings. Every earnings is a absolute bloodbath. Every single one's a bloodbath. I mean, 1 bloodbath, 2, 3, 4. Like, you got to be real careful here. This is probably a 0 at some point, or someone picks up the pieces like Microsoft Office. It's not something I'd be going near. No. A lot of my traders' friends, they're not on there's no social media. Yeah, please like the video. I think there's a lot of fear out there with what I'm looking at. When I just saw what they just did to NVIDIA over something that we already knew was going to happen yesterday, I think there's a tremendous amount of fear out there. And I think that they are profiting off that fear very, very nicely right now, personally. But we will see. We will see how that goes. That is my opinion of it. So they halted the sale, or they're going to stop the sale of some chips to China. It's not going to work. but it is what it is. It's a nice headline. Probably. I mean, we'll probably find out that they already had the restrictions in place, right? Yeah, I think that that's where you're going. I mean, I think that's where it is. You're going to, you're going to gap down 1%. Everyone's going to think it's the end of the world. Then they're going to rip the market. So I don't know that I'd be buying SQQ with the market down 1%. I mean, where do you go? Down 2% today? And then who's staying short overnight here? I don't know. I don't know that that's what's going to happen. That's funny. It's true, though. Let's see. But why do I need volume? Like, what is that really going to do for me? What in the morning? It's going to do nothing. I mean, you don't know that there's volume. You know what I mean? Like, it's so obvious. Yeah, I think there's some of that. I think you have a lot of earnings and people just don't want to be around. But sorry, I couldn't get to more names today with that news that hit. I had to act. All right, guys, if you need me, I am around.